Kim na Tata nZambi Yamazulu. Kim Fumu Kyakuisa. I want to give greetings to all the Bantus scattered across the earth. This is definitely a time of change and time to be prepared. And also give greetings to those who are the non-Bantus that recognize this awakening. I'm coming to you once again with another video. And, based upon my trip to Angola and what I saw, and this video, today the Most High was having me revisit the Eyes on the Prize series. And also I came across this video that's kind of interesting because what it goes into showing is, for those of us who have become aware of Simon Kimbango, Simon Toko, and Simon Pari, and excuse me, long story on him, and others, it kind of gives you a perspective as to why the powers that be, especially the fallen angels who were trying their best to keep the chaos rolling, did not want a connection to the Tokoists at the time as they were coming up, and how it was affiliated with what was going on with the Baptist Church, which is majority of the Black civil rights movements were from Black Baptist churches, and the African Methodist Episcopal churches, and we had the Nation of Islam and the conflict that was going on there. And I'm sorry, I'm running still in this late night, so I ask the Most High be with me at this time. First, as I go through, I want to honor all those once again doing this work. Many of you that are, I give you credit where credit is due, that there are people doing a lot of great things in this time. I hope to continue to do what I can to contribute, and the Most High will, of course, continue to work with me on certain things. I'm so grateful for the opportunity that's been given to me from other groups, and I pray that the Most High will help me to be a blessing upon that as well. What I will say is, we need, okay, first, before I play this video, I need to say this is in the public domain. This is for public use only. This is not for any sales or redistribution. Now, when I look at the Eyes on the Prize here on YouTube, this is how you can tell there's a deception going on. That all of a sudden, because 2 or 3 years ago, you could actually still watch them. So I think it's funny how now HBO, if you have HBO Max, this is probably why they bought the copyrights, and now they blocking it on YouTube. And it's kind of strange because all of a sudden now, this stuff is things that people need to actually be watching and paying attention to. And they make you go purchase a subscription to HBO Max just to watch Eyes on the Prize, which has been out for quite a long time. Now, we know, people that probably here know that when I did the video, I should have said, forgive me for not saying away in the CME Campo de Fino. So I want to do my long, didn't give my standard greeting. I apologize. Didn't want to do too long on this video because I know it's late for me, but I wanted you to understand that there's a contrast, there's a connection to what you see on these things. So I'm going to say, if you have HBO Max, especially this one I watched here, go back and look at the version, the one they called, it says Eyes on the Prize, Part 3, Ain't Scared of Your Jails, okay? When you see, and now we know the story of what was going on in Angola with the Tokwis and how they were being shot and killed. I know there was things happening in South America. I've done some histories on it. They kind of hide that history too, about things that were going on with Black people at that time, or Bantus. And of course, the PBS, as we know, even still controlled by certain groups and factions. This is a CBS. Those who are woke know what the I stands for. Sorry. And I wanted you to hear this part. And like I said, hopefully I don't get a copyright strike. Now they're trying to find ways to come at us because of what we're teaching. And, you know, this is in the public domain. So this is a CBS recording. So hopefully there shouldn't be a problem. This is probably why it didn't get blocked. Okay, so it's called Harvest of Shame. And I want you to listen. I'm not going to play a snippet of it. I want you to listen to what the person says, the reporter. And it kind of goes back to how they knew that when the Most High talks about affliction, and this kind of ties into Isaiah chapter 8, where it talks about where he says, I'll go to verse 15. It said, and many among them shall stumble and fall and be broken and be snared and be taken. Bind up the testimony, seal the law among my disciples. So this is basically where he's saying, you know, we're not going to have the knowledge of what we should know. This is been done more than once, but now we're in the modernized version of it, where we are now. And it says, and I will wait upon Tata nZambi that hideth his face from the house of Yakuba. So he's saying right now, the Most High is hiding his face, and I will look for him. Behold, I and the children whom the Tata nZambi have given me are for signs and for wonders of Isolele from the Most High of hosts who dwelleth in Mount Zion, Sione. Where does he dwell? Okay. And when they shall say unto you, seek unto them that have familiar spirits, and unto wizards that peep and that mutter, should not a people seek unto the Most High for the living to be to the dead? And see, many people don't even know that the people who were running some of these things that we now know had an ulterior motive. Because, you know, when you watch it talks about the sit-in, it talks about the Freedom Riders, it talks about, and you know, there was actually a few white people that when they lived who got damaged, but, you know, the whole concept behind it was getting them to, you know, accept us. We went, and of course, we know what happened in 1921 when they destroyed Black Wall Street and all these other things. Because because we try to tell people there was no race war until the 1920s. This is the hidden history. Yes, I mean, there were still some certain segregation things going on. Yes, people were not quite equal, but there was no real true race war. Now, I know I was going to pull up, there were some massacres that took place that I just posted on WhatsApp, where various people were killed. If I get a chance, I'll show it to you in another video, because I have to look for it. Terribly sorry. But I wanted to do this video because we needed to understand when the Most High, and when we were doing our argument against what people try to say, oh yeah, Christianity, no. And see, the problem is when you look at what's going on in the Congo, when you look at what's going on in America in the 60s and all the different things, you have to understand okay, these are white Christians and black Christians. And you're going to sit there and say, well, they both say they love Jesus, but whose side is the Most High on? Okay. And that's part of the thing that people forget, that when your history, when you don't see it anymore, or you don't recognize it, or it's been hidden, and this is one of the reasons why, you know, we try to say, look, obviously there's something wrong with the system, because there's no way, if you say you have the Holy Spirit, either white or black, that you can be beating up on each other in the fashion that they were doing. So something wasn't right, okay? And it says, and they shall pass through, and it says it says, to the law and the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. So as we have now specified, is in the land of Kamata, very few people will have light in them because you are worshiping paganism. This is why he says, talks about people being, where he says, for the living to dead. Because when you go and you deal with familiar spirits or onto wizards, and which is what, if you remember, the leader of the Ku Klux Klan was called the Grand Cyclops or the Grand Wizard, okay? We know in Freemasonry what the top person is called. Even during this time, you had ministers that were using witchcraft. They just didn't tell you that, but they were using witchcraft to deceive people. This is why many people don't know that many of us got set up to take the affliction that we received, and those as the Most High is going to bring out the truth, it goes back to Genesis where he says you will be afflicted for 400 years. So a lot of these things were created so that we would be afflicted. They just didn't want to tell you that it's because it's fulfilling the scriptures that we would be afflicted for 400 years. And so when you go back, I'm going to show you this video. It's going to coincide with this. He says, and it says, and they shall pass through it hardly bestead and hungry, and it shall come to pass that when they shall be hungry, that they shall fret themselves and curse their king and their God and look upward. Okay. And they shall look unto the earth and behold trouble and darkness and dimness of anguish, and they shall be driven into darkness. Okay. So, you know, this is something that Isaiah was seeing. He knew the things that were going to be happening down in the future. He knew the things that Isolde would go through, even in their times. And so I want to just play this short testimony clip, and hopefully this doesn't get a strike, but we'll see. But it's funny because around the same time that they did this is when we know that the Most High sent the Malikis to Congo. So it's kind of funny how he's going to start off talking about this. Watch. Make sure it's turned up loud enough because I have my headphones on. If it's not, please, sorry, I'll play it again in another video, but hopefully I'll play it. Okay, they're both at 100, so hopefully you'll hear it.
It's on a box and you guarantee you if you pull today and we pull what we got to pull today, you have $1,000 in your pocket. This is not taking place in the continent. It has nothing to do with Johannesburg or Cape Town. It is not Nyasaland or Nigeria. This is Florida. These are citizens of the United States, 1960. This is a shape-up for migrant workers. The hawkers are chanting the going peace rate at the various fields. This is the way the humans who harvest the food for the best fed people in the world get hired. One farmer looked at this and said, "We used to own our slaves. Now we just rent them." The Secretary of Labor looked at the migrant plight and said,
"I think they're the great mass of what I've called the excluded Americans. They are people who cry out, workers and their children and their wives, who cry out for some assistance, and whose plight is a shame. It's a shame in America."
The president of the American Farm Bureau Federation, the largest farmers' organization, says,
"I think that most social workers would agree that it's better for a man to be employed, even if his capacity is such as to limit his income. And we take the position that it's far better to have thousands of these folks who are practically unemployable, earning some money, doing some productive work for at least a few days in a year."
This is an American story that begins in Florida and ends in New Jersey and New York State with the harvest. It is a 1960 Grapes of Wrath that begins at the Mexican border in California and ends in Oregon and Washington. It is the story of men and women and children who work 136 days of the year and average $900 a year. They travel in buses. They ride trucks. They follow the sun.
Okay, so one of the things you heard them say that says, "Oh, this is not the Congo." So you know at that time what the Congo was going through. This is not Johannesburg. This is not Nigeria. This is Florida. And you heard the Secretary of the Farm Bureau say, you could see he was trying to hide his word where he said, it's better to have certain people who are employable with earning some money throughout the years and see what you see now. And this is what much of the controversy started. I mean, you still have a lot of Black people that still do this even now in America, but they're also working alongside a lot of the immigrants that come from the southern borders. And what you're seeing here is, you know, they're saying that, oh, this is a shame and this is America's shame. Well, if it's so shameful as you want to keep putting out there, then why do you continue to allow the wealthy to keep it the way it is? And see, that in itself contradicts many things that the Most High teaches about, you know, if you're supposed to be quote unquote a Christian nation, because during this time, Christianity was very, very strong. Churches were full. People were praising God, worshiping Jesus and all this stuff. And then you're like, wait a minute. So these people do something wrong that they don't get the type of blessings, or they say, well, no, this is coinciding with scriptures where it says, oh, the meek shall inherit the earth, and oh, these are the poor people. And it's like, wait a minute. But at the same time, many of the churches, even then, not all of them, but many of the churches were still making a lot of money, okay? And so when you see why we say, okay, there's obviously the Most High, as he's now revealing these secrets today, he's showing us there was obviously something wrong, that you can tell that there was an intentional act to keep people in a state of poverty. Okay. They even said, now we used to own our slaves, now we rent them out. And then he even went to for so that, you know, one of the things that was said was, how shall I say this? There's a guy, I didn't get to him, but he's going to say, if you watch this, he's going to say it's worse than slavery. Okay. So you can tell when you look at what's going on at this time. This is 1960. Now you can fast forward to 2021. These people have children that go forward. Okay. One of the things that started to happen is the transition from, you know, this mindset that oh, you can, as a Black person, you can make it and you can do different things and you can, you know, you should be able to put in. And a lot of people, this mindset started kicking in. Oh, well, I made it, now you can make it too. Because at this time there weren't very many quote unquote Bantu or Black wealthy people. There were few, very few. You know, Thurgood Marshall at the time was a Supreme Court justice. In the Eyes on the Prize video, you're going to see the violence that took place. And see, the thing that we keep saying is it may not be called slavery verbally anymore, but the conditions are identical. Okay. They just tap danced around it. You're still owned property. Okay. And you even see this that happened in Africa. There was stuff going on with the colonizers there. There was still influence of colonization in South America, and whatnot, because we have to remember America was the only country at that time where they claimed to have ended slavery before others. You know, people don't understand, even though America claimed to be free of their slavery, other places were not. Okay. And so you're seeing where the system was still designed against the Bana Betu of Isolere. Now, of course, you see now, well, they're showing you, well, poor whites, they were next to us too, and they were suffering. And it's like, you know, however, like I've said in many videos, this system does not care about those that are seen as the Kadi and Pemba, the Gentiles or whatever. They weren't meant to also be suffering too. And the scriptures say that when it says that they mistreat their young and their old. It talks about that. I can't remember what scripture specifically, but it says that people who have no respect for their old or their young. Okay. Well, that's evident that, you know, when you look at Bantu people, we had a much different attitude towards one another. There was a created conditioning to cause hatred. But in the meanwhile, there were times when we still took care of our own. When I saw all the people that got into that truck, it reminded me of the scene that I saw with all the people in the buses in Angola. And so, or even riding in the trucks, and see, when you're hungry, you're looking for a way to find things. And see, that's why we say, you know, many people won't hear you if they're still struggling to make ends meet. And this is why, in this awakening, we have to become a system that helps our brothers and sisters to gain what they have been taken from them. Because the argument that they're making is, oh, well, you know, you're blasting things about Catholicism and Christianity and other things, but yet we see these people have food banks. They they feed the homeless, they provide food for the needy. However, the deception is that, but the system creates the need, creates the poverty. Okay, that you have to do that, but they don't want to show you. They say, "Oh, help our people be the do-gooders," to hide the fact that we intentionally create the poverty. Okay, but they will never tell you that. So this is a conditioning mindset. Okay, where they got you saying have kids go to school. There's a video I saw Tata nZambi actually just did recently. I think I agree with what the programmer was saying, where it says you said have kids go to school, get a job, become old and watch TV. Oh, but yeah, do what we say, but you're free. Okay. And this is part of how they did it, is because if you're too much, sorry, let me see that. If you're too much in the way of necessity, you're not focused, like even like the scripture just said, you know, this is exactly what he means. It says, and they shall pass through it hardly bestead and hungry, and it shall come to pass that when they shall be hungry, they shall fret themselves and curse their king and their God and look upward. So the Most High is saying that wherever we are, okay, there's going to come a time where we're going to come to the point where it's like, hey, this place is not working. We need to change it. It's not, we need to, and then now we're going to start looking for the Most High. But it says, and they shall look unto the earth and behold trouble and darkness, dimness of anguish, and they shall be driven into darkness. Because see, when you have forsaken the truth, you have no light. When you have no light, you endure the suffering. Okay, that goes with that. The easy way out, like we've talked about it, is Satan will give it to you right away. Boom, bam. Okay, yeah, you want this, you want that. Oh, you signed this contract. Oh, now you're rich. Oh, I got you. Yeah, you want to get out of this poverty. Okay, yeah, you can run the ball real good. Bam, bam. Okay, you know, that's the deception that's been put on our people. Okay, but then you have crafty pastors that have been conditioned to say, oh yeah, God, you know, God says it's okay to do this and God says it's okay to do that. And it's like, the Most High is like, what? You know, when did I ever say these things? And that's part of the reason why many people are going to find out, or have found out even as they got in front of him, hey, that's not what you think, what you know. So sorry. What you think you know is not true. This is not accurate. You've been mistold, you've been mistaught, you're misreading it, because those who can actually save the world are in this position right here, in darkness, because they have no light. It says to the law, it says, like I said, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there's no light in them. And many of these pastors you saw, even in the, you know, in the Eyes on the Prize and all the different things, on both sides, Bantu and white, you can see that there's no light in these pastors, because what they're doing is they're teaching a false teaching, because the situation was created on purpose. And so it caused the suffering that people went through, because there were those who continued to want to live the lie. Okay. You know, like, for example, I don't know, there was some stuff that he did that helped us through, but I always said, you know, they would, you know, King and his other people would come out of jail, but what about the other people who followed you? Why do they stay arrested? You know, there's even a part where I showed they had hundreds of people in jail Okay, and that's one of the things the system uses again. They say, hey, you know, like the one they just talk about. I'm concerned about my kid's future. Now they have a record, and see, we know as a system that's one thing that they use as a way to say, oh no, you were in jail, you had a federal charge, you did that, we can't hire you. Okay, that intensify a lot of the poverty that would come down the road in the future when it comes to low-level Black people, and especially in the ghetto, in the hood, and you know, on these farms and in different places. Okay, to where you get hungry to pursue the carnal world. Okay, you know, one of the things that I saw, I happened to glance at because the TV was on, was what I saw with the VMAs, and I was like, oh boy, we have really gone down a massive hole of deception, because our people are so lost that they when they say, well, we choose to express ourselves as young people, there's a way to express yourself that it actually lifts you up to the Most High or the Creator, and there's another way you're expressing yourself and you're actually glorifying Satan. You just don't know it. Okay, because in his mind, he's like, hey, I brought this to you, now you're rocking it. You're put, like I said, the kids say that we're rocking it now. These trends that you have been given, they have not been given to you to produce light, but to create darkness. You're going into darkness because you're encouraging yourself to do sinful things, because you have lost the testimony of the law that is supposed to be in your heart. Okay, and sadly, many of the older generations that chose to just let it be, which is like what Masa and other people talk about, where we say certain elders need to wake up and realize that this is part of the problem. Okay, they took away the concept of us being a village, raising our own, and they turn it into, now we use you, everything is used, that now that we're equal with everything, well, then you're equal to what the Babylonians are doing. It's just that they don't know that that's what they're called. Okay, they just use different titles, or you're American citizen, or you're British citizen, or whatever. You're a French citizen. No, you're Babylonians. Okay, because the whole system is designed around the concept of your desires, what you want to do, not what the Most High wants you to do, but what you want to do. Okay, and so that's why even the Creator in another scripture, he says, when they cry, that when they have their idols, he said, when they cry unto me, let their idols save them. Okay, because many of us were tricked into being idol worshipers in a way that people, the world's going to find out, is why you go through, the reason why you go through the suffering and the ordeals that you do is because you chose to be idol worshipers, whether it be you know it or not. Okay, and that's what this scripture is saying. You've went to familiar spirits, you've gone to wizards that run, you know, witchcraft on you. Like this guy was saying in the video, this is supposed to be the best fed country in the world, but yet look, these are the people who allow you the food to come to your table, but yet they have the hardest life. Okay, but at the same time, people who have goods, you know, I'm very grateful for what they do because I know I receive it. But at the same time, you know, this is why when I see people who are in this type of capacity, I don't shun them. You know, I talk to them. I realize that they're in that mode of servitude. You know, I don't look down upon them, because the reality is, this is the world that was created that caused a lot of these problems, where those who want to be served look down upon those that serve. Okay, Now, one of the key things about this is that they always say, well, education is the antidote to poverty. And when you look at the fact that I say that is the most big asinine assumption, because when you look at even now today, you have an inundation of college graduates that cannot find a job, that struggle to even make ends meet, okay? Well, they're educated, but they're poor, they're broke, okay? So obviously, education being the answer to poverty, there's something still missing, okay? Because you got people who are smart, intelligent. I mean, I'm included in this category, but yet there's no money coming in. They'll say, oh, well, it's because you didn't do this or you didn't do that, or they all come up with all these excuses. Well, that didn't happen to me. I'm making money. I'm educated, da, da, da. And what they don't understand is the system does pick people. It really does. That's why people, when I tell people, I'm going to break down in this video just a little bit the real reason why you have to do resumes, why you have to do job applications, why you have to put in the necessary requirements for the job. Okay. Now, of course, people will say, well, that's because we don't want people who were not qualified doing the job that they shouldn't be doing. But here's the problem. And I'm sure there are so many people who have encountered this. How many times have you gotten into a position and you look at the person and you can see they are not qualified for the job, okay, but yet they have the position, okay? And this is part of the misconception of the society that we live in, which goes back to something that I was taught a long time ago. It's not what you know. So you can have all the knowledge. That's why even the Most High talks about there's certain knowledge that means nothing, and there's certain knowledge that actually is very important, okay? So we have a lot of people that the knowledge that they value, the Most High devalues. So in reality, you are working in vain to a certain extent because you're not building the kingdom of the Creator. You're doing your own thing, okay? And so when that happens, you run into the problems like what you saw with the people who are struggling to make ends meet, because those who are chosen in the system are not looking to go backwards. They don't want to be sitting in poverty. They don't want to be living from paycheck to paycheck. They don't want to be, um, in these houses that they can barely hold so many people, or you have plumbing problems. They want to be in these, they say, I work my butt off to have this really nice house and this really nice car and these really nice things. Okay, then how do you explain the person that works his tail off, like they saw with these farmers, but yet they go nowhere? They're stuck in what they're in, okay? So how can you say, oh, well, they're not, that's what they get paid? And no, it's because how the system pays people, that is satanic. People don't understand that. How they choose to elect to pay different levels of people, it's satanic. And I'll explain to you why. Because when you look at the concept, okay, it totally, totally contradicts the intention of the Most High, because what it does is the system is designed to keep you from obtaining the understanding of why you work the way you do. Okay. Because the people on the top, they have a different agenda than the people on the bottom. I've said this before. Okay. They have to continue what they call the masquerade. All right. Oh yeah, we're helping the workers in the fields, and yes, we're doing this, and then you hear this thing about, oh, they just snuck in this so-called taxation of the wealthy and powerful businesses, and people are raising um, controversy like, wait a minute, where did this come from? And da-da-da. Okay. I'm going to say this, and people need to understand it. The super rich do not want to be with those who have nothing. They keep themselves separated. Why do you think they have the gated communities? Do you think they do that on purpose? I remember going into one before when I was going. I remember they have gated communities for a reason. Okay. If they wanted to interact with the other people, they wouldn't have separated themselves. Okay. Yeah, they may not all be jerks about it. You might be some nice people, but they really don't. I mean, the people who can put pianos in their living room and have get-togethers with fancy people, okay, they don't want to be, okay, affiliated with those who are living in squalor. If they did, okay, you'd have a much more balanced society. But it's not like that, okay? And that's what this person, the Harvest of Shame, is even saying. This is a problem in the 1960s. Well, this is the same problem that you're even dealing with now. It hasn't changed. You just change the demographics. There's more Mexicans or Hispanics and other minority groups or other groups involved now. But it's still, and then on top of that, because these people, remember they said these are Americans, but when you're an undocumented alien, now you don't even have to give them what Americans deserve, okay? And there's many companies that operate that way. Okay, they've been caught several times. And so how does this deal with our situation? The Most High is trying to show this world that all the things that is happening to it is because of those who have been driven into darkness. Okay, you think that it says, like he says, you think that you're going according to the word and you have light, when he's saying, no, you don't have light. You've been driven into darkness. Okay. Now you've gotten to that point where I will do whatever it takes to get out of the situation that I don't like, or to obtain a certain level where I know I can be successful. Because sadly, we live in a world where success is determined by your status. And the Most High, the creator of heaven and earth, he could care less about status. Status has nothing to do with him. His way of looking at us is, how do you live according to the examples of what he has set for his people to live by, especially bad people. Excuse me. No, I'm sorry about doing another late video. I know it's just something that the spirit was driving me to talk about, because this is significant, okay? We live in a time where this is going to flip, where all these people you see that are running around impoverished won't have this problem. I'm not saying all of them, but many of them, okay? And so that's when people are going to be like, wait a minute, there's no way this person is now what, okay? They're going to be shocked, okay? So I think Isaiah 9 says more about this. Yeah. It says 9, nevertheless, the dimness shall not be so much as it was in her vexation, when at the first he lightly afflicted the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, and afterward did more grievously afflict her by the way of the sea beyond the Jordan to Galilee of the nations. The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light, that they that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them have had the light shined. Okay. So now our people who are living in this shadow of darkness or shadow of death, we're starting to see a light that shines. It says, thou hast multiplied the nation and not increased the joy. They joy before thee according to the joy in the harvest, as a man rejoiced when they divided the spoil. Okay. So now he's talking about the time when the harvest, you saw the harvest that this guy was talking about. When are we rejoicing? Okay, when is that joy going to really return, and when are we going to see a true joy? Is when the Most High harvests the tares, the wheat from the tares, and they say, "Oh, we made it. We have a great light." Okay, it's not going to be like when they talk about when the Most High was vexed. Okay, he afflicted these lands. That's like right now, he's vexed with the world, so he's afflicting it. But the powers that be are causing deception. Oh no, it's this, that, you know, they're not telling the full truth. Okay. So he's seen a future prosperous here, which says, for thou hast broken the yoke of his burden and the staff of his shoulder, the rod of his oppressor, as in the day of Midian. Okay. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and the garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. So like he's saying, it's a purging, okay? And this is where it goes into the prophecy of Isaiah. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty Tata nZambi, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Okay? Because now the Father dwells in the Spirit with us. This is what started with Isaiah. The Father in us. This is why we had Bana Betu had the power where he brought the good news that now the Father is with you. The kingdom is inside of you. You have the power of the Most High. Because this is the great light that takes you from the burdens. However, not everybody received it the way they should have, and it resulted in an exile. Okay, this is what they hide. The other nations who think they have received this, okay, great light, don't understand that if that were true, okay, then the environment would reflect the type of world the Most High enjoys. You cannot have all of the drugs, the prostitution, the murder, all of these different things if you have so many people that are supposed to be walking in the light. Okay, you don't have people being martyred like Simon Toko and others. You don't have Bantu people being bashed over the head lunch counters by angry mobs. You don't have people going crazy, ballistic in the streets over Black Lives Matter because cops are shooting people. Okay, if you have received the marvelous light of what they call him, we're going to say Jesus of Kuswa Congo, of Isaiah. Okay, if you have received this marvelous light, okay, the suffering will then become because they hate that you speak the truth. Okay, not because the Most High is vexed with with you as a person, and now you're suffering His wrath. There's a little bit of a difference there. Okay, because now your eternity is set, and this is why many preachers have to say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna live in your eternity is set. You believe in Jesus Christ. You have the Holy Spirit. Yeah, the Holy, because it says you cannot be with the Father without the Holy Spirit. But yet, when you go to talk to them about demonstrating the power of what the Bana nZambi brings, they can't do it. So then how do you have the marvelous light? How does the true light shine? Why are people trembling when they see you? Do they tremble at your footsteps? When they see you coming, do they see somebody like, I better not mess with this person? Okay. Like what happened with the apostles. Ooh, these guys they're different. Okay. Does your reputation precede you in such a way it's like, man, I better not mess. And see, those who are truly spiritual in this world today, they know the ones that they can't mess with and the ones that they try to take out versus the ones that they have already put into this mindset. Oh, we don't have to worry about them because they're deceived. Okay, they're in the matrix. So let them say whatever they want to say. Let them do whatever they want to do. If they want to beat each other up, if they want to cause poverty, if they want to do all the different things, yeah, fine. But it's the people that are sitting there that are now starting to bring people to the revelation that this isn't the way it's supposed to be. It's like, uh-oh, now we got a problem. Now we have to work overtime to create friction and animosity with those type of people. We don't want them to come together because we know what that means, okay? And so this is why it's so significant to have all of these distractions, all of these people doing things that they think is God wants them to do. Oh yeah, God wants me to be this, God wants me to be that. Excuse me. But yet you never really confirmed it with Him, the Most High, Tata nZambi, okay? And are you really commingling with the correct spirit? So Isaiah is saying, because I mean, Isaiah, they bear the same names. Because somebody said, oh, it's just Isaiah. No, Isaiah and Isaiah it means the same thing. The Most High says, because in this time of his time, Isaiah is a messianic figure. He's trying to save his people from the destructions, and that's why they killed him too, because it was like, no, we don't want to listen to you. Okay, they believe this is when they sawed him in half. Okay, they hated what he was telling them, and this is Bantu people now. They hated the fact what he was telling them, so they didn't like it, so they tried to kill him because he was prophesying about things about the current time and our future. Okay. See, he's saying that there's going to come a time when there's a restoration coming. And this is what's going to happen again. Okay. Even as we restored things in the past, it's going to be a restoration in the future. When he talks about, you know, the falling down, we be built back up, because the Most High made things fall down. And he's going to cause the whole world to receive this falling down with the rising up of his nation. Okay. So what we really need to have a good grasp of is, now is the time to learn how to help our own. Not to say that it's out because you want to, you know, by people gonna say, oh, you're trying to be racist. No, it's not about that. It's because no one else is helping our own people. They show certain things, they show certain signs, but really, what are we doing for them? Okay. There's too many people exploiting and taking advantage. Okay. And people always looking at, oh, well, I went and I donated and I gave my part and I did this and I did that. Because this is something that even with myself, I have to be careful with. But really, you know, our people need guidance. They need structure. They need to be restored to a mindset that was taken from us. Because, you know, this is where you run it. I mean, I run into this conflict with Black people now, even in America and other places. You know, it's like, yeah, I see that I need to be doing more, but how does that make my belief irrelevant? Okay. How do you know what makes you think that what I'm worshiping is wrong? Okay. Well, because the first step is that, do you truly know your identity, how the Most High really sees you? What does he see? What mission, what is your gift that the Most High has revealed to you? Not what you think it is, but has been revealed to you. Okay. And with that gift, how are you using it? And do you really know how to call upon the Most High, the Creator God, in the proper and in the way that he shows even in the Old Testament? Okay. This is why we are lost. And these videos kind of show this. This is why when we follow men, okay, now the Most High does things through men, we know that. But when we follow men in a way that we don't understand that we need to be paying close attention, what are they really doing here? Are they really helping us, or are they going along to get along in a system that doesn't like us? Okay. It's very easy to make a system look like you're in good standing with them until you begin to see that the majority of the people in the system are not getting they're not getting the same, how should I say, there's a disparity that's so huge that it cannot be right. Okay. You know, the CEO of AT&T or whatever versus the man who's picking the crops. Okay. When you look at the scriptures or you look at the Most High's way of things, it's like, this person, what is his agenda? Is he building the kingdom of the Most High up, or is he just making money by providing a so-called resource he thinks everybody or she or whoever's running it thinks they need? Is that phone really doing what you're telling people to do, or is there a deceptive agenda? Like Monster talks about time. What is that phone really doing to you? Okay. All right. So the significance of what I'm talking about is we need to really hone in on the fact that nobody, that's why the Most High said, he said, no one can save you but him. But what you have to understand is, do you recognize how he will do that? What he will do, what he will use, what he will appoint. Okay. And of course, he is going to show up himself. That's part of the thing. And when he shows up himself, how are you going to be caught? You know, I have to even ask myself that many times. How am I going to be caught? You know, and see, that's what the world doesn't comprehend, is that you can assume that you're doing it right all you want, but there are a lot of people are going to find out they're not even close. They're actually the ones that did not, like I said before, they thought that they were walking in light, but they were walking in darkness, pretending to think that they were in the light, but they were getting pushed further and further away from the true light. How, I mean, like I said, how do we know? Because you will be an intimidating force to people. You will cause people to be like, whoa, how is it that he can understand this stuff and I can't? How is it that he can make the connections that I can't make? Or she? How is it that they can prophesy about things and it happens? Wait a minute, he was just talking about this last week on a video, or she was just talking about this on a video, and it was a legitimate prophecy, not the ones that they just throw out there every day. Okay, when they hear stuff, I'm talking about, they said, wait a minute, months ago, he said that it was going to have this kind of heat. Bam, what the heck? America's on fire. We got this heat everywhere. You know, because I remember talking about that. I said, this is going to be one of the worst summers you're ever going to see. And that was, I was talking about that around the same time I was saying that even before the last summer, I said, you're going to have a pretty interesting winter. And look what happened with Texas. Okay. And I wasn't the only one. There were other people talking about it. And it was like, they say, well, wait a minute. This man talked about this. How did he know? And see, that's why we say now people will start to be intimidated. But they don't know how to take it, because it's like, well, wait a minute, I'm a Christian. I believe in I believe in God. Why don't I have these same revelations? Why don't I see what they see? But then they'll just chalk it up to, well, maybe you are with the devil and you are in witchcraft, and da-da-da. That's what they want to say, which is exactly what people condemn Uzziah for. No, this guy can't possibly know these things. He's got to be in witchcraft. Okay. And that's why when we look at what's going on, and I'm almost done, the shame of this world will be exposed, because you can see with the way Bantu people are today, we are in a state of shame for many of us, because we chose to go against the lights, the true lights, to receive a fabricated or someone who was an imposter. Okay. So I want to say, you know, really watch some of these things again so you can see what affliction looked like, to know what we're trying to come out of, to improve ourselves, and see the struggle that was caused, and how we were missing that there was already someone here that was in the process of waking us up more so than what these other people were experiencing. That if you had, I mean, can you only imagine just a glimpse of Simon Toko in America in the 60s, okay, that was as you saw in Angola and Congo, boy, these pastors, these pastors that are in America would have been in trouble. They'd have been like, whoa, wait a minute, okay. All right, so I want to say Zola Klingi and Sambololo and May Yakongo Ring in Gita.